Step into the arena of minds. On this channel, every move is a clash of strategy, every sacrifice a turning point, and every game a battle for glory. Watch two players push the limits of creativity and calculation, as we bring you the drama, suspense, and excitement of chess like never before. Wesley pushes pawn to d4, staking central ground boldly and signaling aggressive intent. The battle's opening breath quickens. Fabiano answers with nf6, developing a knight towards central squares, flexible, watchful, preparing future counterplay and pressure. Wesley places pawn to c4, grabbing more center and threatening space. Tension builds like drum beats before a clash. Fabiano replies e6, solidifying the dark squares and preparing bishop development. Defensive steel meets Wesley's advance. Wesley develops nc3, eyeing d5 and b5, increasing central control while gearing up for tactical skirmishes ahead. Fabiano brings bb4, pinning the knight and injecting pressure. Caruana's bishop lurks, ready to pounce on weaknesses. Wesley plays nf3, reinforcing center and preparing kingside safety. Wesley's pieces hum with coordinated intent. Fabiano pushes b6, preparing queenside fianchetto and counterplay. Subtle reshuffling, a quiet promise of complexity. Wesley plays e3, opening lines for his bishop while keeping structure solid, practical, poised, and quietly menacing. Fabiano strikes with nef4, leaping into white's camp aggressively, aiming tactics and provoking structural concessions immediately. Wesley answers with qc2, defending c3 and coordinating pieces. Wesley's queen eyes both attack and defensive duties. Fabiano retreats b7, fianchettoing the bishop to a long diagonal, aiming at white's center with latent power. Wesley develops bd3, targeting h7 and central squares, preparing castle, and a quick, focused kingside plan emerges. Fabiano plays 5, grabbing space and opening fire on the center. Caruana goes for dynamic imbalance, bravely. Wesley castles, bringing king to safety and rooks to action. Wesley's tempo accelerates, tension ratchets up. Fabiano captures bxc3. Bishop takes on c3, eliminating knight, provoking pawn structure change and psychological shock. Wesley recaptures bxct3, opening the b file and strengthening center. Wesley accepts imbalance with hungry combative pragmatism. Fabiano castles king safe, rook activated. Both generals ready, the board prepares for mid-game fireworks. Wesley thrusts c5, advancing pawn aggressively into Caruana's camp, seeking space and potential breakthroughs on queenside. Fabiano lifts rf6, rook swings to an unusual square, eyeing kingside defense and lateral counterstrike potential. Wesley maneuvers Neone, rerouting the knight toward g2 or d3, a patient strategic redeployment for future impact. Fabiano responds bxf5, capturing on c5, opening lines and trading structure for activity. The position sharpens. Wesley slides her bone, placing rook on an open file and preparing pressure. Wesley sharpens his queenside weapons. Fabiano centralizes q8, aligning queen behind pawns, watching diagonals, and keeping flexible tactical threats alive. Wesley plays f3, shoring up Ifawa, blunting the na4 knight and preparing to seize central initiative soon. Fabiano jumps ing5. Knight heads toward f3 and e4 squares, threatening tactics and asking uncomfortable questions. Wesley replies b2, completing development and unpinning. steadying defense while keeping options to challenge black's knights. Fabiano captures cx-d4, taking on d4 and opening lines. Tension explodes as material and structure shift abruptly. Wesley recaptures cx-d4, restoring the center and activating pieces. Wesley maintains central foothold with calm aggression. Fabiano brings n-g6, developing with tempo, eyeing d4 and b4. Pieces converge, the battlefield thickens rapidly. Wesley reroutes nd3, centralizing the knight to control f5 and c5, shoring up threatened squares carefully. Fabiano shifts b6, placing bishop aggressively on an active diagonal, targeting weaknesses and complicating white's castled king. Wesley plays bb2, placing bishop on long diagonal behind pawn chain, harmonizing pieces and aiming at black's king. Fabiano repositions n7, retreating knight to regroup and potentially head to g6 or cx. Tension and maneuvering continue. Wesley advances d5, storming the center with a decisive pawn push, cramps black and signals opening of tactical doors. Fabiano slides ra6, rook lifts toward kingside defense, an odd but purposeful attempt to counter Wesley's central storm. Wesley captures dx6, pawn takes on s6 opening lines and ripping open black's position. The board convulses, dramatic, gawar. Fabiano replies nix6, knight recaptures, offering peace to stabilize center while keeping balance under heavy pressure. Wesley plays nf4, knight leaps into a commanding post, eyeing g6 and e6 squares, building attacking prospects fiercely. Fabiano trades, ings ex4. Knight captures, exchanging pieces to relieve pressure. Blood spilled to steady the defensible structure. Wesley recaptures x4, pawn takes back, opening file and releasing e-file energy for approaching middle game fireworks. Fabiano replies bx2, bishop captures Wesley's bishop on e2, simplifying and snipping white's kingside attacking resources. Wesley answers, qs2, queen recaptures, keeping central control while maintaining potential to swing toward kingside assault dian. Fabiano plays re6, rook moves centrally to e6, shielding and preparing lateral defense and counterthrust possibilities. Wesley slides qd3, queen centralizes, eyes kingside and b3 squares, coordinating rooks and bishops for an assault. Fabiano probes na6, knight heads to flower g5 paths, hunting targets and trying to create counterplay against white's center. Wesley plays g3, strengthening king's shelter and preventing knight incursions, a calm, solidifying move amidst tactical heat. Fabiano shifts rebite, rook heads to open file, aiming pressure along the b-file and reorienting forces for activity. Wesley plays qsf5, queen captures, on f5, eliminating a pawn and opening lines. Wesley's attack sharpens, stakes rise. Fabiano fires reb6, rook moves to b6 reinforcing b-file, and preparing to contest open files and counterattack. Wesley positions, bd4, bishop centralizes to d4 dominating diagonals, eyeing black king and coordinating with queen ominously. Fabiano captures rx bone, rook takes on bone-grabbing material, and complicating the position materially and psychologically. Wesley replies rexbone, rook recaptures, simplifying while maintaining file control and relentless pressure on black's exposed flanks. Fabiano follows with the rx bone new, rook captures rook on bone delivering check and momentarily flashing tactical resourcefulness. Wesley answers qs bone, Queen recaptures on bone, restoring material balance and keeping the initiative firmly in white's hands. Fabiano pushes c5. Pawn advances to c5, opening lines and trying to generate counterplay against white's queenside control. Wesley places qb3. Queen checks from b3, probing black king and forcing defensive concessions while keeping attack momentum. Fabiano replies c4. Pawn pushes to c4, blocking and closing a critical diagonal, trying to blunt white's queen influence. Wesley slides qb5. Queen advances to b5, maintaining pressure, threatening squares, and coordinating with rooks and bishops. Fabiano retreats n7. Knight moves back to a7, aiming to rejoin defense and block white's advancing pieces. Wesley places qg5. Queen swings menacingly toward kingside, eyeing g7 and h6 and coordinating lethal threats. Fabiano plays coup-fight. Queen defends kingside and watches critical squares, attempting to hold back Wesley's growing attack. Wesley calmly develops bc5. Bishop lands on c5, dominating long diagonals and slicing into black's fragile position. Fabiano moves kf7. King steps forward nervously to f7, seeking shelter but exposing itself to ever-looming tactical storms. Wesley plays k5. Queen centralizes dramatically, eyeing e6 and g7. The attack tightens like a noose. Fabiano answers q8. Queen sidesteps to 8, trying to trade or shield key squares. Tension remains thick and electric. Wesley shifts kf2. King steps slightly, connecting rooks and preparing to support central and kingside operations carefully. Fabiano maneuvers n6. Knight hops into active central square, aiming to blockade and challenge white's dominant pieces. Wesley flies qf5. Queen checks on a5, with deadly intent, threading threats toward black king and dark square weaknesses. Fabiano forces g6. Pawn pushes to g6, blocking check, but creating long-term dark square holes and breathing room for white. Wesley captures qxss7. Queen takes on h7, delivering a final sharp blow, ripping open black's kingside with ferocity. Fabiano responds k6. King stumbles forward to e6, trying to escape, but walking into open lines and danger. Wesley plays qe7. Queen invades j7, menacingly, coordinating with bishops and rooks for decisive motifs. Fabiano offers qsf7. Queen interposes on f7, attempting to trade and relieve pressure, a desperate defensive gesture. Wesley captures qasf7. Queen takes on f7, eliminating black's queen and exploding material advantage. The tide turns violently. Fabiano recaptures kf7. King captures on f7, stepping into attack range while trying to recover from material loss. Wesley calmly marches k3. King centralizes boldly toward the action, adding muscle and connecting forces for the endgame. Fabiano moves k6. King returns toward center, seeking safety, but remains vulnerable to white's coordinated pieces. Wesley pushes g4. Pawn advances aggressively, aiming to open files and pry into black's weakened kingside shelter. Fabiano answers 6. Pawn supports center and tries to blunt white's pawn storm, a last structural resistance. Wesley plants b3. Bishop lands on a3, eyeing c5 and b4, increasing pressure and targeting black's remaining weak squares. Fabiano counters d5. Pawn pushes to d5, contesting center and trying to create counterblows amidst white's mounting assault. Wesley repositions bb2. Bishop retreats to b2 along diagonal, keeping long-range pressure and eyeing future infiltration points. Fabiano hops in b4. Knight jumps to b4 seeking outposts and looking to disrupt white's bishops and pawn chains. Wesley strikes f4. Pawn advances to a4, preventing knight jumps and grabbing space. Simple, effective, strategically surgical. Fabiano replies nct1. Knight hops with a fork-like threat, delivering check and complicating white's defensive tasks. Wesley retreats kd2. King steps to d2, escaping check and marching into centralized safety while pieces clash. Fabiano shifts nb4. Knight returns to b4, oscillating and probing for weaknesses, stirring the last embers of counterplay. Wesley pushes h4. Pawn advances to h4, supporting kingside pressure and preparing to open files against black's king. Fabiano replies nd3. Knight invades d3, looking for outposts and tactical chances, but steps into white's tactical web. Wesley plays bd4. Bishop centralizes powerfully on d4, dominating diagonals and hemming in black's fragile knight and king. Fabiano advances a6. Pawn to a6 attempts luft and small breathing room, a quiet plea amid overwhelming pressure. Wesley pushes h5. Pawn storms forward, aiming to pry open lines. Wesley's assault becomes unstoppable, relentless, and direct. Fabiano captures gx5. Pawn takes on a5, opening files, but further weakening kingside structure under white's looming pieces. Wesley replies f5. Pawn advances with check, ripping open lines and forcing black king to uncomfortable squares. Fabiano retreats kd6. King sidesteps toward z6 under heavy fire, trying to survive inside a collapsing fortress. Wesley captures gx5. Pawn recaptures on hi5, restoring pawn and opening further avenues for attack and control. Fabiano rushes nef5. Knight jumps to e5, aiming for counterplay and tactical motifs, a brave last-ditch effort. Wesley calmly plays key3. King advances centrally again, coordinating final forces and preparing to convert dominant material. Fabiano replies nfs7. Knight retreats to f7, seeking defensive cover, while black clings to faint resistance. Wesley seals with bg7. Bishop lands decisively on g7, dominating final squares and forcing resignation. Triumphant finish. That's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to bring you even more exciting chess games. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.